Hello there, everyone, and welcome back to Backlot Banter. My name is Tucker Hazel, and today I am joined by my deekiest co-host, Tanner Dijkstra. Tanner Freakstra.
Hello.
Honestly, we're here to talk about Freakier Friday. Huh?
What?
Tanner,
I don't
we
understand.
switched bodies. No, I have such
Oh
bad
my
taste now in
gosh.
movies.
Oh, fuck.
We're here to talk about Freakier Friday, a long in the development legacy sequel to Freaky Friday, which released over 20 years ago now. And we're here to give you our thoughts. But of course, if you have seen this movie and want to talk to us about it, you can join our Discord server, which has a link in the description. And while you're down there, you can like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment if you so damn please. Tanner, Freaky Friday, what do you think about the original? And then how does Freakier Friday compare in your mind?
I like Freaky Friday from 2003. I think it's a pretty solid, body switch film that is, has the same sort of patina of quality as a lot of the like teen sort of decom films of that era. Probably, maybe towards the top of the pile in terms of quality, just because of the quality of actor. And then, you got Jamie Lee Curtis, you get Lindsey Lohan, who's
also
who
a theatrically
quite
released
good.
movie compared to a lot of Disney Channel comedy films.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, certainly has a more heightened sense of quality, and then has some sweet stuff in it. Has some iconic moments that people of our generation will know and love, like the guitar playing at the end or whatever. A lot of same moments. Hey, would you believe that Freakier Friday likes to tread over and do again and nostalgia bait a little bit, but I don't think Freakier Friday is that far. The apple hasn't fallen that far from the old legacy sequel tree. I don't think. Because this one is solid. I think it's okay. I think it's even got some stuff that's like pretty good in it. I'll get into it a little bit more, obviously, as we delve into the review, but I thought I was in for a real rough time for the first 20-30 minutes of this film. I was really not vibing with it. But as soon as we kick into body switch antics, I'm in. I'm pretty in. I think the film really takes off from there, and then I think ends on some notes of like, I understand you now, like some pretty sweet stuff at the end.
Yeah, I'll mirror basically all of that. I think that ultimately I find this pretty interesting as a legacy sequel in how it progresses our characters, and it is interesting in a thematic way of just because you have had these sort of self-realizing connection moments in your past doesn't mean that they don't need to be revisited. Multiple points throughout your life as you change and grow and evolve as a person and new people enter your life. That's why I think this is worthy as a legacy sequel. I think the two movies, even though, again, I don't love them. I think they are solid comedies. The problem for me, and this is, as a critic, you just got to be open and honest, very subjective. Disney Channel style comedies, like very teen focused comedies, are not my thing. Like I didn't grow up on any Disney Channel movies. I know people our age have a lot of nostalgia for whatever the fuck, I like all these fucking shows that then got movies and shit. Like,
yeah, there's a reason that they have that entire catalog. Make sure that stuff is all on Disney Plus.
Because there's a style to it, and a distinct comedic tone and production value and things that people really have a lot of nostalgia for. But I'm not in that group because I never watched any of them. I didn't watch Freaky Friday until 3 or 4 years ago. When I was when I was well out of its age demographic intent. But I think Freakier Friday definitely retreads a lot of that ground in the first half of the movie, but I do think that as the characters start to understand one another better, and I think some of the sequences start to get ratcheted up in terms of intrigue, I did end up liking it at the end of the day, and I think all of the main performances are good, and again, I think thematically it's kind of more interesting to me, particularly because, and I think this is where some of the best comedy and themes work, is now we have both of our adult performers, Lindsey Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis, both of them get to play teenagers, which I think is actually that's the secret sauce that to me makes this a little more special, is that it's not just the teen has to act mature and the old person has to act young. It's that we get two mature people at different stages in their life, of course, being catty teenage girls. I think is very fun and very distinct.
you get the two most experienced actors of your main four to like get the most fun stuff to do, I think. That's just a winning formula for me because we'll maybe circle back around to that for the first section in a little bit, but once the body swap happens, I think the film really comes into its own with its gags, with its jokes, which can lean a little, these darn kids, these Gen Z.
Yeah.
I can't even stand them now. They're on their phones or something. I don't get it. It can lean a little too hard into that, but I think some of the gags are also fairly fun, fairly innocent.
Yeah.
I do think that it's a little unfortunate that, I mean, if we're looking across the aisle here at let's see here, Julia Butters and Sophia Hammons, that they don't get stuff to do initially as much as Lohan and Curtis do.
Yeah.
They are like stuck in detention effectively, and we return to that like 2-3 times. I'm like, I don't know, it kind of feels like we're just spinning our wheels here. Like, let them get out and like do stuff, which they eventually do. And I think those are some pretty fun gags as they are inhabited, of course, by the older people, and they're like, I can, eat. I have a great metabolism, and I can fall
yeah.
a scooter and not get hurt and stuff like that. Like that stuff is all pretty fun and cute humor as well. I just feel like it takes a little too long for that side of the comedy to come in,
I agree.
as we are more focused on. Isn't it crazy that Lohan and Curtis are acting like wacky teenagers?
Yeah, because what's really interesting about the performances is that it is, you're right, pretty clearly split between, frankly, the more comedic stuff and the more like dramatic stuff. Because what's interesting about Julia Butters and Sophia Hammons is, of course, they are being inhabited by the characters that have not only already experienced something like this before, so they're not as like freaked out by it, but they also have had, even in the context of this universe, 20 plus years of understanding each other on this level because they had that connection in the past, and so they actually get some really interesting conversations between the two of them that I think are actually well handled and well performed, between the younger actors acting as people who have decades of experience with also Tess Coleman, Jamie Lee Curtis's character, mental character that then is being played by Sophia Hammons. It gets a little complicated. Is a therapist, and I like that continuation. You'll often get in legacy sequels a character who went through something then becomes a character that can then deal with that more effectively. That happened in Halloween as well, legacy sequel. But I think that having Tess, then played by Sophia Hammons, as a therapist, and also then passing that down to Anna, played by Julia Butters, as someone who has grown up with a parent who is a therapist, and they both have these coping mechanisms. I think that does lean into some interesting thematic stuff where it's like them trying to then impart that onto the people around them, but they don't believe them or trust them because they're like, feel like they're just being pretentious kids, right? It was like, what are you trying to like teach me how to like calm myself down and like how to talk through things maturely?
Hey, listen, listen. You can name it Stephen Tobolowsky returning. Gotta love a little Tobolowsky in your movie, Yeah, I gotta dig it.
Yeah.
And then so then because then Lohan and Curtis, their bodies anyway, are getting up to like, they're trying to split up the parents. That is effectively what the conflict of the film is. That is their goal, is that Lindsay Lohan is getting married to Sophia Hammons' father. Manny Jacinto is in the film.
Just simply the most charming man that has ever existed ever. He's so nice. He's so handsome. He's so
got an incredibly angular face. Listen, they love each other so much, and then the kids are like, well, we can't let this happen because I don't want to leave LA, or you don't want to live in LA. Are they going to move to London?
They are going to move to London.
Yeah. They're going to move to London, but then Sophia Hammond doesn't want like a sister or whatever. She doesn't want that because her dad is moving on from her deceased mom too quickly. Is the idea there. So that is their mission, is that they are trying to like cancel all of the wedding reservations, of course. Flub this sort of immigration interview that Manny Jacinto has to do because he's a UK citizen, he's a Brit, and then
well, no, it's not only that, but because they're planning to move to the UK.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Good point. Good point.
It's mostly on Lindsay Lohan's character than immigrating because it's an immigration thing.
That's I keep forgetting that that the whole thing, the premise is that they're moving to London.
Correct. Yes.
And then of course they try to get Lohan back together with Chad Michael Murray, who returns for this film as well.
Yeah.
He's a record store owner, and there's a little bit of history there naturally. And yeah, so a lot of the comedy comes out of that as well, and a little bit of like sweet stuff too. Like when they're doing the immigration interview, Jacinto knows everything about Lohan, and because Lohan is her daughter. That's the whole thing. Is the nightmare of like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm my mother. Stuff from the first film as well. But she realizes that like, hey, like Manny Jacinto like knows a lot of stuff about my mom, like a lot of personal stuff. Wait a second. Oh, whoa. They might actually be in love?
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Yeah, and these sequences are fun. I think that they're also well established in the movie as the first chunk of the movie that I think we both agree is I'm going to say most annoying, frankly, is that is where the Disney Channel tone and the like arguing between the characters is ratcheted up.
They do a food fight. Yeah.
Fucking hell. Yeah, that's so Disney Channel horse.
Very decom. Yeah.
I did think that first chunk of the movie was annoying, but what I do think on a script level it does is set up. Here's the things that then the characters are going to have to deal with because of the food fight. The younger girls' bodies are then in detention, and also we understand that the wedding. This is compact scripting that I like to say. Are the weddings in 2 days, right? You've got that ticking clock, and when the thing happens, they switch bodies at the what's the word for the
bachelorette party?
Bachelorette party, yeah. Just before the wedding, then it's like, all right, the clock is ticking. Oh God, the wedding's in a few days. We're in each other's bodies. What are we gonna do about this?
Yeah.
I think that's actually like well established. I like that. And then we got to go through the steps of like going through these things that each person has on their schedule that day. And I think that's solid. Again, to where I think this movie is a step up for me in terms of entertainment value is not only that both of the older actresses get to both play catty arguing younger people, but that they both then have a person to play off of that is also in that same situation. There's basically there are very few sequences where one of the body swapped characters is by themselves doing something. And the fact that they have their histories with one another, they're dealing with each other, but also they're in this ridiculous situation. I like the fact that we then have almost always two characters that are going through this together to comedically bounce off of. I think it keeps it a little bit more focused rather than having just the two characters that are on their own sort of adventures and like sometimes come together in that first movie.
So yeah, the antics are all quite good, but then I think that the film also succeeds pretty well in like putting the screws to like the interpersonal drama of stuff going on here. Like the rehearsal dinner that occurs is really where I was like, man, we're spending like a lot of time on because obviously the antics there as well, but I'm just like, man, like these characters are like talking for a long time, talking through their feelings, talking about their insecurities and like what really they are feeling, and then of course by nature of other people talking to them as if they are someone else, they can be like, oh man, like this person has interiority and experiences and anxieties of their own. Like they care about me in ways that I didn't understand that they did. Like there is just a lot of that in that sequence, and then the subsequent sort of like the ending concert sort of thing.
Well, also the preceding sequence, which is the surfing.
The surfing, yeah, like, that's good too.
Yeah, and I like that the movie takes this slower approach to its ending rather than making the last act this wacky comedic everything's flying everywhere sequence that it easily could have been. I think taking it from a more interpersonal angle is a lot more mature. And I also think where and maybe this is a hot take, where some of the best moments of performance happen. And for me, it's Julia Butters and Sophia Hammons that really make an impact in this last section of the movie.
Honestly.
I was really impressed by specifically Julia Butters and the emotional realizations that she comes to in that surfing sequence where, no. Wait, shit, I'm getting the minds of the characters.
Lohan is performing.
No, but it is Julia Butters, her performance as Anna that I think really impressed me in these last few sequences, as she understands that her daughter now understands her. I think those are some really good moments, and like the tears in her eyes, I'm like, Julia Butters is fucking bringing it. In the end of Freakier Friday? What?
Well, because I was also looking through. I was like, oh yeah, Julia Butters. What has she been in? Oh, like she's in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood in The Fabelmans too. I was like, oh damn, like she has been fully embraced by some Hollywood auteurs at the point. So yeah, like she is a good actress. And again, I just return back to like I think she's a little bit wasted in the second act of the film. Yeah, her and Hammons as well.
She has this awkward progression where she's really annoying at the beginning, and then she's underutilized, and then she actually is able to like act, and then it's good.
she's able to lay down the law a little bit. I mean, you mentioned Butters. I like Hammons being Tess, like talking to Mark Harmon, and like running out and like talking to her dad, and having to put on that whole of Jamie Lee Curtis trying to be this teenage girl talking to her father about how she understands that what's going on there. I mean, she even has, but in the conversation she has with Harmon is like a little bit of, like tying up Jamie Lee Curtis's personal little story about like, and frankly, this is something that isn't super well established early in the film, that she is married to Mark Harmon's character.
Yeah.
Like
I got that. Well,
I didn't fully click with it. I thought it was gonna be like, Jamie Lee Curtis, she's a freewheeling therapist in her 60s or 70s or whatever. I thought she just had like a side piece kind of thing going on, a main squeeze a little bit. It's like, oh no, they're married. Interesting. I didn't gather that. But until the very end, where like Hammons has to perform the sequence with Harmon. That's like, hey, you like really care about Tess and et cetera, et cetera. Like that stuff is nice.
Yeah. So yeah, at the end of the day, I think this is a movie that surprised me. I think it gets better as it goes. The comedic sequences are well done. I think all four of the core performances are very good in this.
They are. The thing I kept saying is like they are surprisingly better when they are playing other people. Like that is the thing about them.
Well, and guess what? That's like
it's most of the movie. Yeah, it's the premise of the film.
and Jamie Lee Curtis especially. Like I think she's always been good, but to be honest, I think she's only gotten better as an actress as time has gone on. Like I watched something like Halloween, which is iconic and a movie that I love, but I don't love her performance in that movie.
Well, that's also like one of her first performances.
True, yes. Too. But now that we've gotten to the point where she's had all this experience and can really let loose, I think that she's found this like interesting comedic person. She's always had like she's in A Fish Called Wanda and she's in Freaky Friday and stuff.
She's
in
comedic, but she is really.
How often do you get comedic older women now? Like it's kind of rare.
Unless you're in like a book club sort of film or whatever. Yeah. But like she really is in the cut loose section of her filmography, which I quite interesting. With taking on the strange projects like Everything Everywhere All at Once, or like taking on something like The Last Showgirl, where she is like she is quite brash and still quite sexual, even though that she is added than women typically aren't doing, like being showgirls or whatever. And then in this one, like she's just totally game for being like, yeah, I'm old, I have wrinkles, like I have to take calcium pills and all this sort of other stuff. Like she's totally game for all those jokes, effectively at her expense.
Yeah, no, totally.
A little bit.
Totally are. And what is interesting then about those jokes is I think those feel the most genuine, particularly because of Jamie Lee Curtis's commitment to just having fun with it. It's self-deprecating, but it's just really well done. And the point you were making earlier about these damn kids these days kind of boomer humor, I think is especially prevalent in that first chunk of the movie where the parents are just kind of annoyed by what's going on. And admittedly, and as I said earlier, the kids are really fucking annoying in that first like 30 minutes of the movie, so it makes sense. But it also then is played in reverse, where it's like a lot of these things that are like outdated standards to be putting on your children, or misunderstandings of how the culture of younger people work. Like there are these, or like being overbearing and like trying to understand that like when you were a kid, you wanted to also break free of like the things that were put on you. Like it also does frame the criticisms of the older generation as not particularly fair, and so I think it is pretty balanced in the way the humor kind of pokes fun at both sides.
Sure. There's a gag that I really like, sort of an underrated gag like that surprising they put in here is is Chad Michael Murray has a sort of Freudian psychosexual obsession with Jamie Lee Curtis, and like doesn't understand and doesn't see that in himself. But like Jamie Lee Curtis is always able to clock it in the film. And even there's a little funny little joke at the end where like he brings his fiance or his girlfriend or his
No, they
wife or
just
whatever.
met.
And
They met at that party.
oh, sorry, they just met. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And she like looks like Jamie Lee Curtis in Freakier Friday
No,
from
in Freaky
2003.
Friday, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Freaky Friday.
Yeah.
And you're like, this is pretty good. That's a pretty good gag, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, playing off of the events of that first movie and what happened there and how confusing that was for that character, kind of. And then like that has imprinted on him all these years later. Like, it's a pretty like weird joke for Disney to be putting in this movie anyway. Did you have any any favorite gags, Tucker, to shout before we cap off the review here?
Uh, I do think the stuff with the like a detention teacher that apparently is returning from the first movie, he's really funny. that actor is great.
It's Tobolowsky, babe. Stephen Tobolowsky, ever a gentleman, veteran.
Yeah. He's really funny, and so I agree that the younger actresses don't get as much play in that first half of the second act of the movie. But I do think that because he is there, I think it's really funny. And I also like the recurring gag of Sophia Hammond's character, Lily, that she has like cronies that always do exactly what she does. Like she'll say something or do something.
She's a cool girl. Yeah.
And then these like one or two other girls will do the exact same thing like 2 seconds later. I think that's kind of funny. So yeah, and It's a good movie. I think it's surprisingly well done. I think it's really well acted and consistently creative in these sequences. I mean, like when you're operating under a ridiculous premise like this, you can put characters in any sequence and it's going to be inherently interesting. But I think on the whole they do a pretty good job with it.
Yeah, looks like a streaming movie. Do have to just shout that out there. Looks like it was going to go to Disney Plus, which is true. Yeah. So there's that. Anything else? Oh yeah, Pink Slip comes back. They perform the song and a new song from the end of the last movie. There's a little bit of nostalgia baiting stuff like that. Lindsay Lohan is getting married on October 3rd, which I'm like, we're crossing the streams a little bit there, but whatever.
What is that? Anyway. Is that what a date in the first movie?
October 3rd is the famous quotable date from Mean Girls.
Oh, okay. Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
We're just doing the Lohan thing.
Well,
yeah.
We didn't really talk about Lohan. Lohan's interesting. She's the one I got the like least out of, like personally.
Yeah.
She's
because comedically she's doing like she's falling into the same things that Curtis is doing, but it just plays better with Curtis because Curtis is funnier and also older, so it's more accentuated there.
I agree.
But like the jokes about being old, like you're like, oh yeah, I guess Lohan is doing the same jokes that like her knees don't hurt anymore, and she can like eat burgers or whatever.
Yeah, but then it's like, Liz Lohan, you're not that old. Like,
no.
Yeah, and it's also interesting that this is kind of the culmination of her making sort of an acting comeback, which I've not really been tapped into. So to me, it feels like I blinked, 20 years went by, and then she just kind of skipped from Freaky Friday to Freakier Friday. And I'm like,
yeah,
okay, because I don't know, she's not a performer that I've ever had a particularly large connection to.
Fair enough.
And I've seen a ton from. So yeah, I think she's good, but I don't think that she leaves the least impression on me out of the four, I think.
Yeah, I'd probably tend to agree. Even though it's kind of like her movie because it was her movie 20 plus years ago.
Yeah.
And like she's forefronters, like Lohan is back and everything like that.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah,
Tanner, she was
I
in
tend to
Irish
agree.
Wish, so she's
She was
been
an
back.
Irish Wish. I mean, she's been in the. God bless her. She's been in those streaming mines for
Well,
years at this point.
and and this was supposed to be that, so it actually does track.
Hmm.
But that's kind of my point, is that I've
Yeah.
seen her pop up and you like, oh, Lindsay Lohan. I haven't seen her in fucking
Yeah.
anything. Like, oh, she's in a streaming movie now. I'm like, yeah, I guess that's the kind of the caliber of actors there go for on those. But then watching her in a movie that I think is pretty solid, but also I'm seeing it in the theater, I'm like, okay, no, yeah, like,
Yeah,
and that's why I
that's
feel like
something.
I'm like, oh, like I'm familiar with Mean Girls, I'm familiar with Freaky Friday, Parent Trap, boink, oh. Oh, she's 25 years older, and it's Freakier Friday time.
She's doing the legacy sequel of Freaky Friday, and also making a cameo in the new Mean.
Yep.
Like she's hitting the same beats. Anyway, Tucker, I'm gonna give this one a gentleman's 6.
A gentleman's 6, yeah. I'll say 6.5. It's good. It's solid. It's often when I see a Disney movie, or especially a live action Disney movie, I'm like, I just kind of have this mental reaction like, people should have higher standards, and I usually don't.
Hey, Tucker, you're probably not wrong for saying.
But this one, I'm like, no, this is well. Tanner, I don't have problems with people enjoying this movie.
Oh well, Tucker, how gracious of you.
Yes, yeah, I know.
Such.
I'm very, I'm a respectful guy. But thank you everyone for watching our review of Freakier Friday. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned a little something, and we'll see you next time.